Welcome back to the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly, where we discuss all things relationships with the aim to make marriage great again. Now, we have a very exciting show today because not only would I be going through a celebrity chart, doing an astrology reading, and then going to relationship issues later, but this is actually a very well-known Aussie actress. I thought I would continue the theme from last week, having looked at Margot Robbie. So this time it is going to be another great Australian actress, one of our Aussie girls, and it is Nicole Kidman. Now, Nicole Kidman has been consistently working as an actress for so many years. She's been in so many movies, and she first off started off just in Australia, short little movies, and then once she moved to Hollywood, I think we all can remember she had her first big break doing a Hollywood movie where she then met and married her very famous husband, which we all know who it is, Tom Cruise. So, have a look at her chart and see what she's been through and also what's coming up for her. Okay? Now, I was so surprised though. I thought Nicole was born in Australia, but apparently she was actually born in Honolulu. So by birth, she was also an American. So she's born to Aussie parents. Apparently they were students or something like that, passing through and dropped her there on the way. Though I think her younger sister, Antonia, was born in Australia. So, but she has basically been heavily based in Australia, and so for her life basically known as an Aussie girl. All right. Nicole was born, how you're saying, and 3:15 on the 20th of June 1967, which would make her in her 50s now, 57. Okay. Or is it 57 or is it 58? No, 57. It'll make her 57 years old. And so from her date of birth, we can generate her chart. And her year pillar is Yin Fire Goat. Her month pillar, Yang Fire Horse. Her day pillar is Yin Wood Rabbit. And her hour is Yin Water Goat. So from there, we can see she's got 2 goats, 1 rabbit, and 1 horse. Now, rabbits and goats do combine. They combine to produce a half-wood combination. So there we can say from that she is a dominant chart. Even though she's got a horse and a goat on the year and a horse on the month. So those two combine, but they're a 6-harmony combination. So it's not as strong as a 3-harmony combination. And so we would say that she is still dominant, the wood. So because she's dominant, of course, you'd like favorable elements would be wood and also water that does support wood. Okay? But because, though, of that horse and goat combination, it's really affecting her chart. Otherwise, she just wants wood and be a dominant wood. So that would have been like representing the first half of her life. And normally, your year chart, your year pillar has the most influence on the first 20 years of your life. And then your month pillar, the next 20 years of your life. So up to about 40 years old, she had issues. And if you can remember in her 20s, yes, she had quite a bit of issues. And I think that was where she wasn't dominant anymore. Well, she wasn't dominant during her 20s. I guess she was what you call it, a living in someone else's shadow a bit. And everyone knew them as, she was one half of the Tom and Nicole couple. Yeah, in her 20s was basically dominated with marriage to her husband. And I guess she was living for her husband, and he was being the biggest star. Well, he was a big star, big established Hollywood star to begin with. He was dominant over her and overshadowed her. So even though marrying him, it elevated her in Hollywood and got her Hollywood recognition, it still wasn't her as her own. She was still doing things with her husband and going everywhere with her husband. And I think that she also had to, well, I shouldn't say she had to, but I guess she joined Scientology at that point because of him. And as we all know, he was such an ardent Scientologist. And from what we've heard, he's actually very high up in Scientology. And I guess any organization or whatever would be looking after their biggest stars, their biggest their members that are the most famous and most prominent, and that would be Tom Cruise. I know we've heard of John Travolta. That's also a Scientologist, but I think we'd all agree that Tom is probably a bigger star. Yeah, and what we've heard is that this church also has a very strong influence, or had a very strong influence and still has a very strong influence over his life and his love life and so forth. And it was even a suggestion, I guess, that Scientology, or the Church of Scientology, was an influence in him breaking up with Nicole. Okay, so this is all rumors and so to speak, but I guess they weren't happy with her for not being totally in it. And I guess he adopted children with Tom, that Isabella and Connor, that they adopted, which I found quite surprising since she adopted them when she was still in her 20s. And for a woman in her 20s, that's the most fertile time. So I don't know why, but I think I have a feeling it was at his instigation rather than hers that they go and adopt. But they've both been raised as Scientologists. And I heard that later on when they split, they kept away from her because she was known or labelled as a suppressive person or something like that. That's what I heard. But either way, she's been estranged from them for many years, basically since they divorced. She and Tom divorced, which is a shame. They're not biologically hers, but I guess if it's a child or children that you've raised from a baby, you're going to have such a bond with them. You know, it's just like so many fur baby parents, people with pets. They're not even of the same species, but if you've raised them and been with them all the time, I mean, people have such a bond with their pets that they're like their children, even though if they're not even human. Yeah, so I understand the feeling of how she must have been pretty hurt that she's lost a relationship with them since they were children. It must really hurt. So in that respect, I do feel for her. As I was saying, Nicole has had an absolute stellar career. I mean, a very accomplished, and she's been in so many big films and also small ones as well. And I think she's been continuously working for so long. And imagine how long starring in a movie takes to actually film. It's months. And you're constantly releasing it year after year. I mean, chunks of months of your life. And when you're filming, it's like 18-hour film days. So it's really full on. And, we're having a look at her career. She was born as Nicole Mary Kidman. And I guess she's one of the few stars that actually use their real names because a lot of people use their stage names. I mean, apparently even Susan Sarandon, that's not her real name. And, Whoopi Goldberg, That's not her birth name. I think her birth name is actually Susan, not Whoopi. And there's so many other stars that use stage names as well. I mean, I think even her former husband, Tom Cruise, was Thomas something Cruise. I think that's the closest. And people have just used entirely different names. Or like even David Bowie, the late David Bowie, the singer. Apparently his real name was David Jones, not David Bowie. I guess it makes it a bit sound more interesting rather than just a plain Jonesies. Well, anyway, now, Nicole's career. It all started in 1983. As a 16-year-old, she had her first film debut in Bush Christmas. And also, she was in BMX Bandits. Now, I've never seen the movie, but I keep hearing about Nicole being in BMX Bandits as a curly, red-headed girl. And I think all her life has been curly, this massive curly hair. But now, over the past decades, her hair's been straight. So I don't know whether or not she's continually straightened, had a straight perm or not, or just had it blow dried all the time, or if that's just a wig. So, okay, that's I think that's enough on Nicole's hair. Now, during that time when she started, she was in a Young Earth luck cycle, and that was a pig year. And interestingly enough, she's got the goat and also the rabbit. And it's given her a full wood combination. And that's really supportive of her. So I'm not surprised that's when her career really started her career. And that supports her totally. And, because of the rabbit and the goat being on the day and the hour, or particularly the rabbit, because of it's on the day, this is going to be a feature of her entire life. So she is pretty stable. I know a lot of actors and actresses, they have changing charts for a very good reason, is because they have to change with the roles that they're in. They're playing different roles all the time and portraying a different persona all the time that they've got to adapt. So, yeah, she really is the same throughout her life, except the first half of her life. I guess she's got issues because of the horse and goat combination there. But I'll go back, like I've mentioned before, were issues with her husband then. Okay, and besides BMX Bandits, she, I think, also had a supporting role in TV series 5 Mile Creek. I didn't really hear about that as much. Now, however, the next year, 1984, she's still in Young Earth. Okay. However, it was the rat year. And if you've cottoned on before, the rat year, or rats, is a direct clash with horses. Now, she has a horse on her month pillar. Now, the month pillar, besides representing your career, your business and money, what it also represents is your mother. And during that year, her mother actually had breast cancer. So you've got the rat clashing with the horse there being her mother. And so her mother got sick. And so being a good girl, I'll have to give her credit for this. So she studied massage therapy to help her mother with physical therapy. Very good, very nice daughter that she was being there, very unselfish there. Now, 1987. This was during the monkey luck cycle. And 1987 was also a rat year. So there again, there's more wood for her because the rabbit itself is pure wood. And what does she like? She likes wood. She appeared in the Australian miniseries Vietnam. And that was a very well-known series that she was in. I think she played the lead or the main character's younger sister. So she was actually quite prominent in that series. And then the next year, 1988, she was in a movie called Emerald City. I think that was a TV movie. And for those that are not familiar, Sydney is also known as the Emerald City. Because, New York has a name of the Big Apple, and Paris is known as the City of Lights, that sort of thing. And Sydney is also known as the Emerald City for those that are not familiar with the term. And that was during the Dragon year. And she was in that Dragon year. She was still in the monkey luck cycle. So those two formed a part water combination. Now, water is actually a very good element for her because it provides good support for her. Now, the following year, 1989, she starred with Sam Neill playing his wife in Dead Calm. And that was a breakthrough role for her. And I remember watching that movie, and that Billy Zane was really creepy. I think a castaway that they rescued, or someone in a boat that they happened to rescue, but he turned out to be a absolute psycho and tried to kill them. It was all filmed on like a boat. Okay, so that was during the snake year in a monkey luck cycle. So there's a combination there. And that year as well, released Bangkok Hilton. Now, that series was an Australian series, and I think it was written especially for Nicole. And she starred as someone that was duped into becoming, unwittingly, a drug mule for a boyfriend, someone she met on holidays, and he filled her luggage up with heroin. And going through Bangkok airport, he made sure he was scarce, and she got caught with it. And she was going to face the firing squad for that crime, so to speak. Yeah. Okay, for those that haven't watched it, I won't spoil the end for you, but that was rather gripping, and she was fantastic in that drama series. I remember watching it, and it was great. Now, the very next year, 1990. This was a horse year as well, and guess what? The horse year is her career pillar as well, and that's when the movie Days of Thunder was released. And Days of Thunder was where she met her husband. Well, her former husband now, it was a future husband then. Actually, they filmed it, I think, 1989, but it wasn't released till 1990, with Tom Cruise. And from that, she became Hollywood famous from that movie. And, okay, now that horse year, and with her horse combination, so that horse, I guess, combined it with the other goat that she had, and she actually married that year as well. So really, it emphasized that goat side, the first side. So it changed to what she naturally isn't, that horse and goat combination. It was really mucking up what she naturally is. And I guess it's reflected like in her 20s, throughout her 20s, she's had it with her husband. She was pretty much I would say both. This is it seems like a contradiction. She was at the same time elevated in terms of career-wise and recognition and her fame, and dragged up and became a Hollywood star because of him, because of Tom Cruise, but also at the same time overshadowed by him. It makes sense. And I guess at home, you see all that, but I think at home, she was really, I guess, the submissive partner, and he was the really dominant partner, which is contrary to her nature. Her nature is being dominant, being the dominant partner, so to speak, but she was unable to be what she naturally wanted to be because of Tom Cruise. Now, I have not had a look at Tom's chart and her chart together, because that would take too much time, because her chart alone, there's been so much going on with her that we don't have the time today, but I will be looking at Tom's chart and also her present husband now, Keith Urban's chart, later on. Now, 1991 was another goat year. Okay, and then she was in the movie Flirting, about high school girls coming of age. And then 1992, she was a monkey year, and she entered into another luck cycle, is Yin Earth. And she starred in that movie Far and Away with Tom Cruise. I think that was about migrants from Ireland in the US in the 1800s. And I think they both had to put on an Irish accent. I kind of haven't watched that movie. I've only seen snippets of it. But it just seemed weird seeing them both put on that Irish accent. It wasn't what I equate Nicole with. Not familiar with Nicole speaking that way. Now then, in Yin Earth luck cycle, and then the next year in 1993, it was a rooster year. Now, that rooster year clashes with rabbit. So I think, and rabbit is her house of spouse. So I think that there may have been some issues at home with Tom, but I guess it was only because it's 1 year, I think they were able to sail through it, which they obviously did. Now, she started in the movie Malice with Alec Baldwin as the villain, and I have to say she did a very good job, because if an actor or actress makes you hate the character, they've done a good job. I did not like her character in that movie. Yeah, it was real malice as well. I'm just saying, real malice. Now, there's so many other movies that she's been in, so I'm not going to cover all of them, otherwise we'll be here forever. So I'll be looking at the main points now. And the main points is in 1999. Now, there was a movie called Eyes Wide Shut, and she starred with Tom Cruise then. I think it was a Stanley Kubrick movie. It must have been his last movie before he died. And I think that was heavily censored because there was a lot of nudity. And apparently I heard it took like 2 years for them to film that movie. And I think that must have put a lot of pressure on their marriage, because from then on it seemed like it was the beginning of the end for them as a couple. I just imagine though, having to work on being and shooting all the time on a movie for 2 years with your spouse. I guess it just takes a lot out of the both of you. Okay, and yourself as a couple as well. And so the rooster, though, that year, and because 1999 was in the rooster luck cycle. Now, as I say, because I mentioned the rooster before, that was a rooster year in 1993. Now in 1999, she's actually entered into a rooster luck cycle. Now, luck cycles last from 5 to 7 years in terms of that. When you have a clash with your house's spouse and you're married, that normally signals trouble. Okay, if it's 1 year, couples may be able to sail through it, especially if you know beforehand that, hey, you get forewarning, say, hey, this year is coming up and it's going to be clashing with your house or spouse. So be nice, be more gentle with each other, and any arguments, please don't take it to heart. Try to sail through that year. And especially if you have forewarning through a reading, then knowing that beforehand, it would help a lot. And because you're really conscious of that, then you don't blame your partner, you know. And so this is what one of the very good advantages of getting a reading is knowing beforehand when trouble's coming. Yeah, you need to know the bad stuff as well as good stuff, simply so you can prepare. And knowledge is very powerful, knowing beforehand. Okay, so then you know it's not your partner why they're acting like this. It's just the year. So you don't take it too much to heart and you don't blame them. Okay, just smile, yes dear, yes dear, yes dear. Okay, until the year's over. However, if it's 5 to 7 years of this bad energy, it's very difficult to get through it. 1 year you can do it, but 5 to 7 years asking you to grit your teeth and bear it, very difficult. And so I guess that's why in 2001, we were still in the rooster luck cycle, the last year of that rooster luck cycle. They separated and officially divorced by the end of that year. And that was a snake year as well. And the snakes and roosters combined. So more power to the rooster then. It became even more of a metal. Now, this is the thing with Nicole. You know, as I said afterwards, after a divorce though, she became more successful. I guess after coming out of the shadow of her husband, who was being, I would say, behind the scenes at home, would have been quite oppressive. I don't think she would have felt as oppressive as so forth, but I think she might have felt obligated to be accommodating to him, to his domineering personality. I guess she would have had to adapt in order to make the pairing work. So later on, I will actually have a look and assess both of their charts as a couple. And then we'll see what the actual interactions with. But I have a feeling that he was being more dominant and dominating her. And her, I guess, she could not be herself. So it was actually a good thing that she came out of his shadow, so to speak. Because after she divorced him, after the divorce, she became more successful, if people can remember. She started filming movies on her own, got her own individual billing, and her star power really went up and became more successful after her divorce. Now, in 2005, she met Keith Urban. 2005, though, was a rooster year again. So, and I said, rooster clashes with her house or spouse. However, and because she's already divorced, she's single and available, any clashes with the house or spouse then means that you can meet someone, which she did. She met Keith during that year. And lo and behold, in 2002, she went into another luck cycle, which is yang metal. Now, yang metal is Nicole's proper power because she is yin wood. Now, with power, for a woman, power represents her husband because traditionally a woman got her status and standing through her husband. Even though times have changed, the old rules still apply and they still hold when astrology was formulated, and it still works. And during 2005, she was still in that yang metal luck cycle. So yes, there she goes. She met her proper husband. Okay, and she is. And in 2006, the next year, was the dog year. Now, the dog and the rabbit combines. And the rabbit is her house of spouse. So she got married with Keith. It's unsurprising that they married then. So it fits all the way for her. You know, so she's got a combination with her house of spouse. And from what we've heard, that it's been quite a happy marriage and they're still together. You know, that's a proper husband to where with her. So much so that, you see, in 2012, she went into yin metal luck cycle. And yin metal is improper spouse for her, or improper husband for her. So I wasn't surprised then that they still stayed together. She might have met someone, yeah, but that's because she's already got a proper power, proper husband. This is improper power, improper husband, so she doesn't need to go there. There might have been a few issues, maybe a bit of jealousy behind the scenes, but I think she's stuck to her proper husband, proper power. So good on her for that. And you know what? I think I remember that Keith Urban is also a goat like her. I think they're the same age. And, you know, you have two goats. This is the thing. Normally, people discourage those with the same signs marrying each other because you're too similar. You want someone, because, well, traditional thinking is if they were only going on the year, say if the goat doesn't have a good year, if she doesn't have a good year, if her husband's another sign and he might get a good year, then it helps. You know, and so otherwise you tend to just go up together, down together. Up together's fine, but what about the down together? Though for most people, that's an issue. Though for these people, because they've got so much money, it doesn't matter. So their bad days are much better than any of our best days, so to speak. And also because they have so much money, they don't need to worry about what qualities, what life skills the other person has, because goats tend to be very artistic, and they tend to be more in the air and not really grounded, so to speak. So they tend to have difficulties dealing with the practicalities in life. I guess that's also because they're artistic, they're up in the air then I guess, and if you've got two people up in the air, like he's also a musician, she's an actress, so they're both artists, so to speak. So very lovey-dovey, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have a team of PAs, assistants and professionals to deal with all the things that they're unable to or unwilling to do, which I strongly suspect that's the case with two goats. But it doesn't matter, as I say again, because they've got so much money, they can afford to hire housekeepers, cooks, PA people that'll help with all the admin that they cannot do themselves. Car insurance going up, looking after maintenance of their properties around the world. I don't think they'll be doing that themselves personally. They would have property managers and their own PAs is coordinating with all those and booking cleaners and so forth, and maintenance. See, when you have money, a lot of things are easier in terms of options and resources to get hired help, so you don't have to have it. So in a way, in a way you're happier because life becomes easier. And if life is easier, you have the less stress on yourself. And the less stress you have, the less pressure there is on you personally and also on your marriage or relationships if you don't have that. If you cut off and avoided that big part of what causes stress and puts pressure on marriages. So I guess but not all cases. I mean, look, Tom Cruise would have been a lot wealthier. Okay, so they would have had all that hired help, but it's just the personality with him and the other issues with him. In a combination, that would have been the issue. And they've been very happy together, and she finally got the biological child that she wanted in 2008. She gave birth to her first daughter, her first biological daughter, Sunday Rose. And that was during the rat year in the dog luck cycle. Okay. And then in 2010, she had a second daughter, Faith Margaret, and that was through a surrogate. And I think it's because that she just had problems getting pregnant so to speak. She just could not get pregnant, and so then she had they decided to go through a surrogate. So that was during the tiger year 2010, and that was also during the dog luck cycle, and the dog and the tiger combines to form a partial fire combination. Now, fire, though, to a wood person like Nicole is output. So normally, when we look at can a woman have children, or a woman's children is her output, it's production. So even though she physically did not give birth herself, I guess it was still her eggs, and she still got a child. So, yeah, indication of children there. So that is Nicole Kidman for you. Okay, and I do hope that she has continues to have a very successful career and life. And I guess through what she's been through, she deserves to have a happier life. And it looks like she's found it with Keith, 2 goats. And later, I will do a relationship compatibility analysis, looking at both Nicole and Tom Cruise, and also Nicole and her present husband, Keith Urban, to see what the difference is in those 2 combinations. So I think that will be very interesting, having a look at the nature of her relationship with Tom and the nature of her relationship with Keith, and whether or not this is going to be a staying power. Because having a look at her chart there, she has already been through the rooster luck cycle, which would clash with her rabbit, which is the house of spouse. So she doesn't have any more clashes coming up. So the only thing she's got, I guess, they can worry, but that's all the way in 2052. So, until she's in her 80s, but then, you don't really care in old age. Though, you know what, you can't really judge just from her chart. To check whether or not a marriage has longevity, you have to check both partners' charts, to see if there's going to be any clashes coming up. Because if it's not coming from one side, it could come from the other. As you know, people's hearts and feelings change. And people will change, and it might not be you. It could come from your spouse that decides that they no longer love you. And then what do you do? Even though you might continue to love your spouse. It's hard, but that's reality, is that, it has to be 2 people, not just the love from one side. Unfortunately, it has to be love coming from both sides, and both people agree to love and stay together. So that's Nicole Kidman. Now, making marriage great requires us, as I keep saying, to choose the right partner in the first place. That would eliminate so many future problems. And I guess so. And you see, the easier something is, the longer it will last. Isn't that right? Try how many heavy boxes can you pick up in a day versus how many light boxes you can pick up in a day. And also, just like the easier the job is, the longer you can keep on doing it, versus the harder and the more stressful the job is, you're likely to quit pretty soon, won't you? You will not, one, you can't keep it up. And secondly, you are not going to enjoy it. And so you're going to want an out. The more difficult it is, the quicker the out that you want. Okay? So this is the thing, people come out of bad relationships, and particularly bad and messy divorces. They either then blame the marriage itself. Say marriage as an institution is terrible. It brings me nothing but grief and so forth. And look at how much money I had to shell out. Not only the financial costs, which has just wiped me of everything, but the emotional toll as well. That's something that you regularly hear from usually men that have lost everything in a divorce and become quite bitter about it. Or they, besides blaming marriage itself, or they would blame their partners or former partners for not doing this or being that, For example, she was so selfish, or he did not help with anything around the house. I had to do it all by myself, and that's why the marriage went down, and so forth and so forth and so forth. But the one thing is, all these people that complain about their former partners, particularly, they didn't do this or that, or were selfish and so forth. Have you ever stopped to think, though, before you married them, did you actually check to make sure that they have those qualities, or they can do all the stuff that you say that they didn't do during the marriage? I suspect a lot of people, more than 99% of people, did not. You see, if you do not check for something first before you acquire it, can you then blame that person, or that whatever it is? Like, you might buy a regular car, okay, because you wanted to go up to the mountains and bushwalking and all that, and you bought a little, what do you call it, a little hatchback or a little sports car, and then find out that it doesn't go through the terrain. It just can't make it. So do you blame the car then for not being able to do that? Or should you really be blaming yourself by not considering first what you needed before you went out and to purchase a vehicle for that? Okay, you might have just bought that car because you like the look of it. That's not enough, is it? So it's just your fault. It's just like, you say, you wanted just a little dog that'd be a companion for you, and go to sleep, be easy maintenance. But then, without you really considering the breed, you went out and got a high energy dog because it looked cute in the window. And then, because you don't have enough time for it to spend to give it all the energy, all the exercise and activity that it needs, because it's such a smart and active dog. For instance, if you've got a border collie or, help, a Belgian Malinois, it's too much dog for most people. You're not able to provide all the activity that dog needs. And so what does it do? It goes and finds its own entertainment. And it'll be the entertainment that they want to do and not particularly what you'd like them to do. It's a nicer way of saying they'll mess up your house or tear things up. So then who do you blame? You cannot blame the dog then, because that's a nature. You didn't consider it yourself first, what you really need, and then found the appropriate breed, a low energy dog that just wants to lie there and occasionally have a walk. Okay? You cannot blame that. And we do that for everything, just like we have certain needs for a particular house we're going to buy. It needs to be close to where you work, or so forth and so forth, have some action, but you happen to buy it in another location because you like the views, and then it becomes totally inconvenient for you. You can't blame the house. Yeah, you have to take some responsibility for making bad choices, for not choosing first, not really thinking about what is it you actually need before you went out to purchase. It's just the same thing with a partner. You get what you choose. If you do not choose or assess for certain qualities, then you cannot complain that your partner doesn't perform the tasks or what you want them to do or expect them to do. You can never assume, because you don't with anything else, do you? Why do you deal with this? You don't consider with the most important decision of your life. Someone that you're going to have to spend basically 24/7 with, unless you go out. I should say you're going to be partnered with 24/7. Live with each other. What they do affects you as well. And as a partnership, you just, just because you like them and you seem to get on well. And then later on, you complain that they don't cook, for instance. And you end up having to do all the cooking because they either can't or don't want to do it. So it'll be a lifetime of you cooking and then and takeaways, basically. And can you complain then? Because you did not check that beforehand. Then you cannot complain that they didn't do any cooking during the marriage. Or complain then that they were hopeless around the house. Or, he couldn't even change a tire. Or he could not, did not have any handyman skills. You had to hire people for this and that and so forth and take control. Well, you did not check him for that, did you? If that's what you wanted, someone to or do some house maintenance, or that's what you expect, you have to check for that. Otherwise, you cannot complain if your partner doesn't do it. Or if your partner ends up being totally messy, so you end up with a messy house. You either leave it like that, or you're the one that will going to have to do all the cleaning up all the time. Then you can't expect them to be suddenly clean. And then can you really complain then? You check beforehand, or even knowingly that they were untidy. And then seemingly be surprised when you live with them and the house is a mess. Oh, come on. What did you expect? You did not think things through. Then you cannot complain. I know it sounds very clinical because people are viewing marriage and relationships as something with the heart. Yes, it does. You actually have to love the person, but that is not enough. Just general feelings, because feelings and love have to be continually supported. Otherwise, it dies. Because remember, this is not a natural bond. Okay, it's a created bond. A natural bond is something like a mother and her child. A mother is going to love her child no matter what. The child is ugly or beautiful, fat or thin, poor or rich, A grade student or C grade student or F grade student. The mother's still going to love her child. Doesn't have to do things for the mother would still love it. However, a relationship and a marriage is a created bond. You're not obliged to love that person off the street. There is no bond, no connection to that person. It's a created bond because you happen to be attracted to that person, like certain things about that person, want to be around that person all the time, and that person makes you happy. It brings things to you or helps you with things, and so you keep up that love with that person. And so what happens when that person stops doing all that made you love that person in the first place? Well, feelings are slowly going to ebb away, particularly if you are going to be the one continually doing everything. Can you still love your partner then? Seriously. Okay, I'm asking you. I mean, what do they bring to the table? Then all the stuff that you initially loved them for, their looks or whatever, might be very good looking, then it ebbs away because, as I say, looks do not last. It is one of the things that definitely will not. Looks fade, and so it needs to have something else for you to want to continue to be with that person. Just think about it. And like I say, always you're better off on your own than being with the wrong partner. However, nothing can beat life with the right partner. You have so much over someone that is single and on their own. So much of an advantage in life-wise, your health, money-wise, everything. Your life is just so much more enriching, and you kind of like you feel, in a way, you have more resources and you feel more empowered because you have backing of someone, and so that someone that does that loves you, genuinely loves you, not hired help. So this is what I mean by people really need to think about what they need. And I say need rather than what they want. So I'll start off with men first. Gentlemen, you really need to think about what criteria of a partner that you have in mind with you. I mean, you might say you want a certain height and age and background or of a certain class of woman. Like men saying, oh, I'm at this stage of my career. I mean, upper echelons. I need someone classy to be with me. Or that sort of thing. Or, and really think about what you're attracted to, because all those things that men generally described, it's very superficial. It's just very based on the outside. And this is one of the things where I mentioned before, it's one of the drawbacks in online dating, because online dating, you're just looking at a profile to make a judgment on people. And it's a lot of the times the actual true personality of the person doesn't come through. And it's very difficult to convey that in a profile, trying to describe it. Like, it's just like looking at a job candidate, so to speak. Went to this uni or, was in this job before and so forth. You make the same judge. And, employers make a certain judgment about that person, what they think is they're being like. But at least with the employer, they think critically about the job that they got on, that they're trying to fill, the requirements of a job, what the job actually needs that person to do. Okay, so what they need them to do, and then what the qualities of that candidate has to have to be able to do that job, and then they look for the candidate that will fit the position. Though with our life partner, what do we all do? People go and choose the partner first based on just because they like them, and then expect them to fit into that position and do the task that the position requires of being your partner. Hello, what do you think is going to happen? It's just like you hire someone just because you like the way they look, or the way they speak, or they're very tall, just because you like the height. It's unusual. Without considering their qualities, can they do the job? Well, if it becomes a disaster, then can you complain? You can't complain. Just the same as if you did not consider what you need your partner to do, and then look for the person that can do all those tasks. And if you just marry someone or choose someone just based on the way they look, and they can't do it without considering anything else, and they end up not being able to do the tasks or the job of being your partner, then can you complain? When it becomes a disaster, when you get this big messy divorce later, you cannot complain. The only person that you can blame is yourself for not considering in the first place. Okay? And this is the thing with men. When you are doing online dating, as you say, not only that online the profiles do not convey the person as the true nature of the person, very difficult. But then, people normally on these profiles, they have to state their height and age and which level of education they've done, they're up to, and what job they are. And so you judge what you think they'll be like based on that. Not only that, you can filter out candidates, say, okay, do a search. I just want minimum this height, or from this height to this height. If you're a man, you just want a woman between a certain height, not too short, not too tall, certain age, or background. But then you're going to filter a lot of candidates out. And because of that, you might have filtered out the perfect partner for you, simply because you were hard on the physical aspects that you think that's what you need. Well, I guess in this instance, it's what you actually want, not what you need. And so because of that, you're very limited, and unfortunately, you do filter possibly the right candidate for you out. So that's a very big drawback of online dating and so forth, because how do you convey someone's qualities as well? If they're a good problem solver, for instance. Now, that is going to be a huge asset when you're living with someone. It's a huge life skill, solving problems, because problems in life come up all the time. And if you've got someone that is capable of doing that, that's fantastic. Look, what they can do is look at, they're in this job and they're in charge of so many people, so they had to solve issues and all that. Okay, there's an issue with that in terms of, one, the person that can solve everyday problems is unlikely or may not even a big possibility. They may never been in a management position, because those require academics and going up a certain corporate ladder, being a progression. Or the other aspect is that, But however, in life, what you really need is not solving technical skills necessarily. It's everyday life problems. And that is such a big asset, but you cannot convey that through a profile. And it's very hard to decipher that from a profile as it is. So that's one example. But as I say to men, you really have to think about it and get rid of it, because a lot of people end up meeting and marrying their soulmate that is really outside of the realm of what they're normally attracted to. And they would just happen to be lucky because they happened to meet that person through chance luck, and it clicked, though that person might have looked nothing like and what they envisioned their partner to be, or have a totally different background to what they envisioned their partner to be. But lo and behold, it's what they really needed. And it's far more important to have what you need rather than what you want. Okay? And I say that, and I think, I want people to actually think about that. It's very important. What you need is different from what you want. You see, people can want fries and pizzas and hamburgers because it's tasty or whatever, but what they really need is healthy, nutritious food, and what's going to be better for you, especially in the long run. And this is another thing men keep saying, well, I keep hearing, they say there's no good women around anymore, or there's no women that is actually a wife material anymore. Well, that's because you're looking at the wrong women. And because of that, because of their criteria that they've got in their minds, they tend to overlook the nice women because they don't fit into their criteria, either through age, race, or height, or weight, or what have you, or a certain class, or socioeconomic background. So thinking, especially people that have old money, are through old money or reached a certain level thing, they would not be looking at anyone living in a working class suburb, for instance. But that might be the perfect match for them. But and so because of that, it's a shame that they don't. Okay? And the thing with men say no more good women around, and then the other comment they then usually do is, well, when they first met me, they were really nice in the beginning, but they degenerated, but it slowly got worse and worse after they married. The mask came off. Well, yeah, because in the beginning they're doing their best to make the sale, so to speak. People normally put their best foot forwards in the beginning. And because women generally want the relationship more, they're going to make the extra effort. And because they instinctively know that you're not naturally compatible, they adjust themselves and present who they think that you would be attracted to and be compatible to. So it's a mask. So you're actually marrying this person, okay, whereas what you're getting is the person behind that mask. So that's what I mean by men. You have to overlook the superficial and the frivolous aspects. Look at her skills. Look at her skills. What does she bring to the table? You really think about what you need. You need someone with good management skills, good money skills, problem-solving skills, be a good cook if you happen to enjoy food. Okay, you can't eat takeaways all the time and go to restaurants. But that's what I enjoy. Look for that. Someone that loves cooking, great at cooking and loves cooking as well. Okay, it's no good being attracted and thinking the woman that loves adventure be exciting and so forth. But are you going to constantly go on holidays all the time? How do you earn money if you're constantly going on holidays? Not just you're not there to work, but it does cost a lot of money keeping going on holidays. It's expensive. And because at the end of it all, you come back, you've got nothing to show for it. Some people say, you had good memories of it. But hey, in the end, if you've got nothing, those memories become bitter. And memories fade, and that's it. No, nothing. So you really have to look at it. That's why, I get criticized a lot by men saying, when I say, you'd have no idea when you're saying you don't choose the nice girl. It is true. The nice girl, and quiet girl, it's just like women do it to men. Men also do it to women. When they say nice guys finish last, it's also the women go for the bad boy. It's the same thing with men. Nice girls finish last. They go for the bad girls. They're seen as the exciting girls. So really have to think, gentlemen. And the other thing is, if you keep going back to the same thing, you cannot expect a different result. If you keep going back to say, okay, I need someone that's a certain tall and blonde all the time. You had a bad hair habit, or someone of a certain background, ethnic background, or in a certain field, and you keep getting bad results from that. If you keep going back, do you think you get something different? You might, but the probability is small, because they tend to have a certain personality because of of a certain culture, whether it be professional culture, okay, and that mindset being the same, or ethnic culture being the same thing. You really have to think, is that culture appropriate for you? If not, do not keep going back to that. And this is one thing that I find, especially leftist men, thinking, I'm open-minded, I'll go, experience a different culture and be one. I'm great where we're saying go find an Asian woman, or especially an East Asian woman like a Chinese or a Japanese, which are one of the most conservative in terms of the Asian women. And then what do you think would happen? It would be a disaster. You actually have to understand that culture. It's a conservative culture. You cannot expect people to follow your leftist views. Okay? They might, in order to please you in the beginning, go along with you, to make the relationship work or whatever, but it's not them. And in the end, I think that it's actually cruel to expect people to change themselves or give up their beliefs to accommodate you. People need to be themselves in order to be happy. You cannot expect a dog to be a cat and a cat to be a dog. It's just cruel. That's what they're saying. That's why in circuses, I say circuses are cruel, because you're forcing animals into something that's not their natural behavior. Well, I'm going along the same vein, is that you're forcing people to be something that they're not, and not their natural selves, in order to accommodate you. So men, unless you're conservative, do not choose an Asian woman, particularly an East Asian woman like a Chinese, Korean, or a Japanese woman. They are conservative to the hilt. Okay? They're going to expect you to do a certain thing, to be and do certain things, as in the male role. And you cannot do the traditional male role, be a provider and protector. Do not go there. Please. Also, you know, men, if you're looking, you tend to look in the wrong places as well, or you're very limited in where you'd look. Like you only look on people from certain suburbs or social networks only. Like say okay, fair enough, you might be in a church group and so you just look around in people in your church. Fair enough in terms of, you might click with someone like that. In effect, yes, you do share a certain amount of values, but you're also limiting yourself. Or if you think, okay, I'm a corporate professional, I need to find someone that's also a corporate professional, and your networks then would be people in the same industry, for instance, and you're really limiting yourself. Or people from certain, like I mentioned before, certain suburbs, let's say socioeconomic class. You're at this level, so you want people at this level. I think it's easier for men because men tend to marry across and down. Women marry across and up because women do not like being that role as the provider and the protector. Simply because women are physically weaker and you've got childcare responsibilities. You cannot be the breadwinner. And women feel uncomfortable in that role anyway because they don't have the testosterone that men do and the stamina that men do to keep working. And so, but you think about it, it's ridiculous. You're going to have someone smaller and weaker working hard to provide for someone that's bigger and stronger, physically stronger. Doesn't make sense at all. Or you get to see, like a sick person to go cook for someone that's healthy and runs marathons. Doesn't make sense at all. All right. So that's the advice for men. There's still plenty more, but we'll leave it there for today. Now, I've gone through men, specific advice for men regarding choosing partners, and now it's the women's turn. Okay. Now, it is commonly said, and a lot of complaints from men, is that women reject the nice guy in favor of the bad boy. And I guess it's just, like I said, it's not just women, but everyone does it as well. Men do it too. They reject the nice girl in favor of what they see as the exciting or glamorous woman. Yeah, for anything long term, you need someone with substance, really. Need someone that is going to be there for you when you need them and not just for outside appearances' sake. And I guess, there's a bit of a bragging mentality when people choose partners based on this exterior. Women like to show off, how exciting it is, and men like to show how beautiful or glamorous their girlfriend or wife is. A bit of a bragging rights for both men and women. Now, women, you really have to think about what you need. Don't reject the nice guy in the belief that you deserve better. Better will come along, or waiting for your dream guy, so to speak. I know women have a lot of romantic feelings and fantasy in their minds of a dashing, tall, handsome man who'll come. Traditionally, it was come right in his horse and come sweep you off your feet and so forth. And nowadays, it's turned into either the rich billionaire that will come and sweep you off your feet and take you away in his Rolls Royce or Ferrari. More like the Ferrari she's after. Will you be happy with them in the long term, really? See, the nice guy, when I guess people get complacent, or take things for granted, nice guy will be there for you, ring you certain times, or, cook dinner for you and so forth. And just seems so nice and easy. And because of that, as a woman, I understand what they're thinking and saying, it's boring, it's not exciting. I want someone exciting, be able to provide some excitement. But this is also men are guilty of this as well. They want someone with excitement, so to speak, not a homely woman. And women say, I don't want a homely man. So that's why she finds the bad boy attractive, the bad boy that, couldn't care less of you sometimes, argue with you, and seeming to maybe be able to get in a fight and so forth. And then I guess it's a bit different with women. They kind of think, oh yeah, that's the type of guy that can protect me. I guess in their mind they're looking for despite whatever feminists say and what women are willing to admit, in the hearts of hearts, hidden in there somewhere, women want a provider and a protector. They're never going to admit it. Okay, do not ask any women if that's true. They are going to deny it. But you only have to look at their choices in the end. Or women that marry wealthy men and will look to marry wealthy men and just sit back and do nothing. Okay, because everyone wants the easy life. However, women have a confusion in their mind. They think that someone that's physically aggressive is going to be a protector of them. But they don't, in their mind, someone that is like that is not going to respect them. It's a really fine balance. I guess women want a man that is aggressive enough, large, aggressive enough to be able to protect them, but also nice enough to be nice to them. And that's a very fine line. Be nice at the same time as be aggressive, but be nice only to them and look after them. And so in the confusion, I think they're looking at the bad boy thinking that's that, but very, very few of them would actually be also, while outside they're aggressive, also going to be nice to you and take care of you. So to speak. I guess that's also why you hear of women falling for criminals while they were in jail, the men in jail. So they think, oh, okay, he's so aggressive to everyone else except me. I can tame him. I can control him. Reality is not the case. Or most often, once they do get released and they're together, that she suffers at his hands physical violence. So women have this, are more in the mind, not as connected to reality as men, but men also have shortcomings when choosing spouses as well, because we're more attracted to the visual without thinking things through. Women are the same. Though, because the nice guy, too nice. Things are too easy, too boring. But really think about it, ladies. You think you're going to reject someone that's nice? Though, okay, this is one thing that they're not the bad boy. If they're nice enough to you, okay, look after everything, but you think that, especially women in the 20s, they think, and they've got so many offers, I think they get blasé about it and complacent and feel that it's always going to continue, that they'll get offers. But once you're out of your 20s, it's a lot more difficult because you're outside of your prime. You have to be honest, okay, because men in their 20s and 30s still go for women in their 20s, whereas women in their 30s, she has to compete in the same pool of men in their 30s with women in their 20s, younger, more fertile, have more time, fertility window of opportunity, and that becomes hard. So I don't want women to miss the nice guy and reject the nice guy in this belief in her mind that better is going to come along, or you're waiting for your dream guy. He's so nice and he does all this, but he's not earning quite as much money as I'd like him to, or he's not as tall as I'd like him to be, or I want him to be in my mind, my ideal partner. And so you reject a guy because of that. Or he might not be as good looking. And I say, look, or I always say, looks fade with time. They should not be even a main consideration for you. As long as the person looks decent, that should be enough. And in this day and age, everyone should be able to look decent, at least. If you're, like I was saying, people won't like me saying this, but if you're overweight, you can lose weight. You take it upon yourself to improve yourself, improve your chances of attracting a partner, being presentable to a partner, but it's also good for your health. Lose weight, keep yourself tidy, not messy, dress well, dress properly. It doesn't have to be Armani clothing or Chanel clothing. You just have to look well presented, because you never know when you're going to run into someone. And it could be your next partner. And you don't want to lose that chance just because you look scruffy and unkept. That they don't want to get to know you more and get put off. Like, we are always, rightly or wrongly, we do judge a book by its cover when we don't know the book. Okay? It's like you're in a bookstore with all these books. You don't know which one are you going to choose. So what do? You just have a look at the covers first. And if it looks interesting enough, then you'll pick it up and you actually read the back as well, description, and maybe even have a flip through. And if it's enough, then you buy it. You get entranced and enticed by the book. I mean, there are people, this is bad, but people end up liking the book when they start reading it, so into it, they continue reading it while in the bookstore. And then they get tapped on the shoulder saying, no reading, please. If you like it, buy it, which is what they should do. And I guess people eventually buy it. But that's my point being that you have to look interesting enough, or at least not be off-putting to someone, so that they want to get to know you more, come and talk to you, have a conversation with you, and that's how you find out a bit more about each other. And if you're on the same wavelength, because once you start talking to someone, you just get that feeling, whether or not you're in the same wavelength, and then you want to meet again. And that's how it works. So, yeah, present yourself well. And, ladies, particularly, I say the young ones in your 20s, this is something that parents should be teaching and society be teaching. But unfortunately, most parents don't teach their kids. In your 20s, you're in your prime. That is when you should be looking for partners, and do not reject the nice guy just because you think a better match is coming, or waiting for a better match, something a bit exciting. Look, I like how he's all... what do you call it? So nice, so to speak. But if he was a bit more good looking, so I'll wait for someone just as nice as him but better looking. If you do that, what's going to happen? You're likely to miss the boat. Someone as good as him, better looking, is not going to be coming. And once you hit your 30s, you're not even going to find someone as good as him. Not to mention anyone with that plus the good looking, your dream guy. What really matters is the substance of the person, really. Really think about it. How would your life be if you were living with that person? Okay, really imagine it. What qualities do they have that when you're living together would make life easier for yourself? Can they solve problems? Are they a handyman? Okay, or they're just hopeless with everything. It may seem rather cute in the beginning. Oh, they're so helpless with this and that and so forth. But what happens if you live with them? Okay, all those niggling little things you found amusing. Well, if they cannot do all that, you're going to have to pick up the slack and do that. And then, how are you going to feel about it? Think about that. Okay? Now, we're coming towards the end of the show, and today we've had a great look at Nicole Kidman's chart. Nicole has had such a stellar career. It's amazing that she started young, became famous, Hollywood famous, very young at the age of about 23. And she's continued to churn out work and be one film after another. And though she's gotten older, I guess the roles that she took on also reflected her changing age. Like in the movie Aquaman, she played Aquaman's mother. She played, so Jason Momoa, the character that played Aquaman, which was his human name was Arthur Curry, the mother. So she's progressed from playing, a young woman to roles, well, main lead, female leads when she was young, to being the mother and supporting roles. And she's continued to work until now. Still, she's well into her 50s. She'll be heading towards 60 soon. And she's continued to keep starring in movies, which is very, I would just say, unusual. It's not usual in Hollywood to have a female, an actress, continue to be acting, and especially as she ages, to keep being in movies. I mean, for men, it seems like a double standard though. For men, they seem to get better with age. They continue playing male leads well into their 50s and even 60s. You remember Jack Nicholson? He was pretty advanced and she still nailed it. And as you can see now, was it George Clooney? Probably 60 now, or his early 60s. He's still playing action roles. I guess the only older action actress that played in a action movie was Linda Hamilton, where she reprised her role as Sarah Connor, as an older Sarah Connor, along with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you had two older people doing action. And I have to admit, it was a bit funny when I watched that movie, the last Terminator movie. It's going like, do you buy it? But hey, that was that. But yeah, I haven't heard of Linda Hamilton being in anything else other since. I guess that she was brought in action because she was historically Sarah Connor and they wanted the character back. So that was different from Nicole. Nicole is not been really much in action because I don't see her in that type of role. I don't identify, and people don't identify, but she's continued working. And looking at her chart, we can clearly see her two husbands, why she ended up marrying those two, and the timing was just right for her. Though with Tom, like in the beginning, up to about in her 20s, it wasn't that good. She was dominated by him, and I guess she wasn't able to be her true self. She might have loved him, I guess, but if she really thinks back to it and she's willing to admit it, she was like dominated by him, at least behind the scenes. If not, his star shadow was overshadowing her. So to some extent, professionally, not completely, because she was still working at the time, but she was always linked to him. And then now, even though she's married to Keith Urban, and she's married, though she's like her own person still, not overshadowed by Keith, even though, well, I guess it's because he's in a different industry. He's in country music, and he's not as big, nowhere near as big a star as Tom Cruise. So she gets to be herself. She's got to be her star in her own right, so to speak. And she met him while she was going through the yang metal luck cycle, which is being a proper husband. Is when was a proper power period. So she met her proper husband. So, and it's evident that it was a proper husband, seeing that it's lasted this long, and she's had 2 biological children with him, as she wasn't able to have it with Tom. And also, if you notice, we have not seen even one wedding photo of her and Tom when she married Tom. But when she did marry Keith Urban, I remembered we've seen lots of wedding photos, and she did everything traditional. Traditional dress, everything was according to tradition. I guess because she didn't get to have that in her first wedding. And for women, I guess it feels like something's missing. And then she made sure that this time, she had the full traditional wedding with her. And I hope she has have a lot of happiness from that, and she deserves it. Though later on, I will have a look and see how her chart interacted with Tom Cruise's versus Keith Urban's. So that's going to be a very interesting reading that I'll do on them. So that is going to come up later, and I will be announcing it on my Facebook page when it's coming up. So Please follow my Facebook page, Miss Dragonfly. Miss Dragonfly, or I do have another Facebook page. It is Make Marriage Great Again. So I'll be making announcements. So please follow it, especially the Make Marriage Great Again page, because I will be posting things I would not normally post on the Miss Dragonfly page. Okay, so good to follow both, but please follow at least one. Now, the other thing is today I went and go through, look, people, in order to make your marriage great, ensure great, the marriage becomes a success, you have to choose the right partner. And that involves really assessing them according to what you need, not what you want or the picture in your mind of a certain criteria that you think that you need your partner to have. Whether it be a certain age or height or socio-economic background or from a certain ethnic group or so forth. Forget about all that. What is really important is mentality, the thoughtful, and also really think about what you need your partner to do. And then you choose the partner accordingly, the ones that can do those tasks that you need your partner to do. Because if you do that, if your partner is able to do all the stuff that you need them to do, you love them and it will last a long time. The marriage would work rather than picking someone just because, say, you like the look of them. And like I say before, it's just like you need a car. What you need is a car to go up the mountains or your hiking trips, go through rough terrain and carrying your camping gear. But you go to the car sales yard and happen to spot a great looking sports car. And you purchase it just because it looks good without thinking whether or not it can do the job that you need to. And so when you then take the car, your new sports car that you like the look of, yeah, and it fails to be able to go through rough terrain that you need it to, then do you blame the car? You cannot blame the car then. There's nothing wrong with the car. Okay? It's just that it's not suitable for what you need and you did not think about it beforehand. You did not choose based on your need. You just chose based on what you liked and what what you wanted rather than what you need. So fellas, really keep that in mind. Okay? If you did not, and I say this men and women, if you really did not think about what you need and choose your partner accordingly, then you cannot blame them when they are unable or do not do what you need them to do. If they're unable to step up the plate, so to speak, and then it becomes a disaster. Well, really, if you did not assess and choose according to what you need, you cannot blame them. The only person you can blame is yourself by not doing that, by not choosing your partner based upon what you need. And ladies as well, on top of that, do not reject the nice guy. Just like gentlemen, do not reject the nice girl just because they don't seem exciting, because it's the mundane that lasts. And ladies, just imagine, you pick a really glitzy, sparkly pair of 6-inch heels. You choose it because it appeals to you and you just like the look of it. Right, and you do not consider the practicalities. Whereas the boring pair of flats, you're going to keep wearing. And you're going to be wearing it everywhere until it basically falls apart because it's so comfortable. Because that's what's good for you. That's what you need rather than what you want. So, and ladies, on top of that, do not reject them nicely because you think there's better coming along, or you deserve better, or it's your dream guy is going to come along later. You just wait for your dream guy. Chances are you're going to that dream guy is not coming, and you're going to lose the nice guy that you already have, and you're passing him up for. All right. Well, that's the show for this week. Let me know what you think by leaving your comments on my Facebook page. And if there's anything you'd like me to cover, then please feel free to leave it there. And if I can cover that, then I will. And don't forget to tune into the show same time next week. And until then, it's bye for now.